There is a moment today when a conversation with someone close to you will suddenly feel harder than it should. Not dramatic, not explosive, just heavier, like the air before rain. If you are an Aquarius, that moment is not random. Three different threads in the sky are pulling on the same knot today, and all three point straight at your home life and your closest relationships. By the end of this, you will understand exactly why today feels the way it does, and more importantly, what to do about it before the day gets away from you. The bigger picture. Let us start with what is actually happening above you. The moon spends part of today in Aries, which in Vedic or sidereal tradition often shows up as a fast, restless energy that can make ordinary plans feel like they are unraveling. Vedic astrologers watching this transit tend to describe it as a day where sudden changes ask you to stay flexible rather than rigid. Later, the moon shifts into Taurus and meets Chiron, the wounded healer, right inside your fourth house. In Western tropical astrology, the fourth house is the house of home, family, and emotional roots. When the moon conjoins Chiron there, old sensitivities around privacy, safety, and belonging tend to surface, not as a punishment, but as an invitation to look at them honestly. Here is what almost every horoscope will skip past. That same Taurus moon later squares the Leo sun, which is sitting in your partnership zone. Square is tension, not disaster. It means two legitimate needs are competing for the same moment. Your need for privacy and quiet at home is bumping into a partner's need for attention or reassurance. Neither need is wrong. They are just facing different directions right now. And there is a slower, deeper current running underneath all of this. If someone close to you, a cousin, a sibling, a neighbor, has felt like a wall lately instead of a bridge, that pattern likely traces back to a longer Saturn transit working through your close relationships. Saturn does not move fast, and it does not care about your comfort. What it builds, though, tends to last. This is not a passing mood. It is a structural test, the kind that leaves you with something sturdier once it finishes. Take a breath here, because this next part connects everything. The Western lens sees today's fourth house activity as an emotional invitation to finally name what home means to you. The Vedic reading of the same sky emphasizes adaptability during unpredictable shifts, almost like it is preparing you for exactly this kind of emotional turbulence. Two traditions, two vocabularies, describing the same underlying weather. Love. If you are partnered, that sun and moon square is going to ask something specific of you today. Your partner's request may land as more demanding than it is actually meant to be. That gap between intention and impact is the whole story here. Before you react to the tone, pause and ask what the actual request is underneath it. You may have noticed that old family patterns have a way of sneaking into new relationships, showing up as habits around caretaking, conflict, or who gets to feel comfortable in a shared space. Tay's sky makes that especially visible. Separate the person standing in front of you from whatever old situation your nervous system is quietly replaying. That single distinction can diffuse most of the tension building right now. For those who are single, this is less about meeting someone new and more about noticing how you show up when you feel exposed. Loving yourself first is not a cliché today. It is the actual assignment. The sky favors open, honest conversation over guessing games, whether that conversation is with a partner or with yourself. Career. Now here is where it gets interesting, because this same emotional undercurrent bleeds directly into how you show up at work today. If your personal and professional worlds have been blurring lately, today is not the day to let that continue. The Aries moon's restless energy makes it tempting to vent a home frustration in a work setting or bring workplace stress home. Keep the two separate, even if it takes conscious effort. The relational tension from that Saturn-driven pattern with a sibling, cousin, or close peer might quietly echo in how you handle authority or teamwork today. If someone in your orbit feels like an obstacle rather than an ally, resist the urge to force a resolution immediately. This is a slow-building lesson, not a same-day fix. The best move at work right now is steady, unremarkable consistency. Let the structure hold while the emotional weather passes through. Money. Financially, there is genuinely encouraging movement in your chart, with your resources trending in a more favorable direction than they have recently. That said, do not let the day's emotional intensity push you into an impulsive purchase disguised as self-care. The Aries moon's restlessness can make spending feel like relief. It rarely is. It rarely is. A setback you experienced recently is not evidence that your financial path is broken. Many people navigating a similar planetary pattern report that what felt like a step backward turns out to be a necessary correction rather than a failure. Treat any recent loss as information, not identity. Health. Here is what makes today genuinely worth paying attention to. All three of these transits, the restless Aries moon, the sensitive Taurus moon meeting Chiron, and the tense square to the partnership sun, are really the same conversation happening in three different rooms of your life. The conversation is about where you feel safe enough to stop performing and just exist. That is the thread running through your relationships, your home, and your body today. Most people will experience this as scattered irritability and never connect the dots. You now can. That recognition alone tends to lower the physical tension that builds when emotional needs go unspoken. Slowing your breathing, even for a few minutes, genuinely helps regulate the nervous system activation that this kind of aspect can bring on. Going to bed earlier tonight rather than later is likely to leave you noticeably more clear-headed and steady tomorrow. On the subject of remedies, some Vedic practitioners may recommend Saturn-related practices, such as specific mantras or, in certain cases, gemstones, for individuals whose birth charts support them, given the longer relational Saturn pattern described earlier. This is not universal advice. Gemstone prescription in Vedic astrology depends on a full analysis of an individual birth chart, including planetary dignity and timing, and should never be applied broadly to an entire zodiac sign. Home and family. Picture your home right now as an old house with a beautiful new coat of paint over rooms that still have unresolved wiring underneath. That is essentially what the Taurus Moon and Chiron conjunction is highlighting in your fourth house today. The surface may look fine, while something underneath quietly asks for attention. If a relative or close friend has been leaning on your time and generosity more than feels sustainable, today supports a gentle, clear boundary. You do not need conflict to do this. Naming the limit calmly and suggesting one practical adjustment tends to land far better than waiting until frustration forces the conversation. Whether it is scheduling quiet hours, dividing chores, or simply protecting an evening for yourself, visibility matters. Write the agreement down somewhere you will actually see it again. The deeper Saturn pattern with a sibling or cousin is not asking to be solved today. It is asking to be witnessed. Sometimes the people who feel like barricades in our lives are, in a strange way, training us to know our own footing better. That reframe alone can soften a relationship that has felt stuck for a while. Travel in spirit. There is a pull today, even if it is subtle, towards somewhere warm, slow, and far from your usual routine. Thailand's coastline has been mentioned in your broader travel indicators this season as a place where your nervous system could genuinely exhale. You do not need to book a flight today for this to matter. Even mentally rehearsing rest gives your mind permission to soften. Spiritually, The work in front of you is less about seeking answers externally and more about sitting with what home actually means to you right now. Between the wanderer's restlessness of the Aries moon and the nester's need stirred up by Chiron in your fourth house, you are being asked to hold both truths at once. You can love movement and still need a sanctuary. Those are not contradictions. They are simply two parts of the same person. Lucky signs. Yellow carries favorable energy for you today, worth wearing or simply noticing more often. The window between 2:30 and 4 in the afternoon looks especially supportive for anything that matters to you. If numbers speak to you, 45, 59, and 18 are worth keeping in mind today. Earthy, steady energy, the kind associated with Taurus, complements your mood particularly well right now. Today's guidance. By the end of today, the pattern should be clear. A restless sky, a tender fourth house, and a strained partnership aspect are all pointing you toward the same quiet truth. Home is not a place you finally arrive at once everything is settled. It is something you build, conversation by conversation, boundary by boundary, with the people who matter most. Name what you need out loud today, whether that is space, rest, or simply to be heard without being fixed. Keep the agreement visible once you make it, so it does not quietly dissolve by tomorrow. The tension you felt at the start of this was never a sign that something is wrong with you. It was a sign that something in you is finally ready to be built on solid ground. That is the real shift. Whatever wall you have been facing, whether inside your own home or inside an old relational pattern, is not there to stop you. It is there to show you exactly where your strength has been quietly forming all along.